We've got breaking news out of the NFL, and it is big. The Chicago Bears are trading the #1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers in this year's draft. That's according to our lead NFL insider, Jonathan Jones. Chicago receiving a massive haul, which includes the #9 overall pick in this year's draft, a first-rounder in next year's draft. They also receive wide receiver DJ Moore, along with other future draft selections. This is the 13th time in the common draft era that the #1 pick has been traded, and the first time since 2016. So let's take a look at the new draft order as the Panthers and the Bears now moving. Panthers vault up to the #1 pick, the Bears falling back to #9. Let's bring in lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones for more on this. JJ, first off, let's just start by getting your reaction here. Chicago said they were open for business, and now they've done some business.
Yeah, Jeremy, Chicago wanted to trade this pick, and they wanted to get it done before free agency, so they knew what they were working with heading into free agency. Sort of the idea that bird in the hand and two in the bush is sort of what you're dealing with. The Chicago Bears general manager Ryan Poles could have dragged this out, could have taken this all the way up to the day of the draft, the day before the draft, hours before the draft, but instead decides, hey, listen, this is a massive haul for us, the Chicago Bears, when you're talking about going back to #9, where they can still get a blue chip athlete, especially if you have 4 teams ahead of them that are going to take quarterbacks. When you talk about Bryce Young, CJ Stroud, Will Levis, and potentially Anthony Richardson. And so they also need a #1 wide receiver. They tried to go get it with Chase Claypool last year and trading that second-round pick, that high second-round pick, to Pittsburgh in order to obtain Claypool. That didn't work out there in the second half of the season. DJ Moore is going to work out. We're talking about a guy for 3 straight years had consecutive 1,100-yard receiving seasons. And then last year, as the Carolina Panthers played musical chairs with their quarterback, only had a little under 900 receiving yards. But we know that he can be that #1 receiver there. And so the Bears committed to Justin Fields going into year 3. They get him a wide receiver. They get picks for this year. They get picks for next year, and they feel very, very well situated both in 2023 with so much money in cap space and beyond.
Yeah, if you're a Chicago Bears fan, you have to be liking certainly the haul you're getting out of this and how the situation looks moving forward. JJ, in terms of who Carolina might like with that topic, are you hearing anything?
Not hearing anything specifically about them. I mean, look, we see right there the odds. The odds are there for a reason. Bryce Young is the odds-on favorite to be the #1 overall pick because he is the top quarterback in this year's draft. And talking with Frank Reich back at the Combine, he talked with us about needing an accurate passer, needing to be tough, needing to be a great leader, needing to be able to process information quickly. I am quoting him almost verbatim here from when we spoke with him in Indy on the set there. Well, when you look at Bryce Young, he is no doubt accurate. When you talk about processing information, that's the thing that everybody talks about Bryce Young, the moxie that he has, how he can compute things at a way that no other quarterback in this year's draft class can. And tough. Look, this is a guy who played in the SEC, and we can talk about his durability. We can talk about his slight frame. He's just a hair under 5'11". He weighed in at the Combine at 204, but we know that at Alabama he was playing sometimes as low as 175, in the 180s, listed at 194. So he's going to have to keep that weight on, no question about it. We know that that is the biggest issue with Bryce, is the questions about his size and durability. But in talking with folks close to Bryce Young, they say, listen, durability, he was durable at Alabama. And so I believe that Carolina would be looking at him very hard. This is obviously Carolina's choice. It's the first time since 2011 that the Panthers have had their top choice at quarterback. And we remember, of course, that with the #1 overall pick, they took the quarterback from the other side of the Iron Bowl there, Cam Newton. They've been wandering in the wilderness ever since they wound up having to cut ties with Cam a couple of years ago, and now they're making sure that they have their quarterback of the future this April.
And it makes you wonder, when you look at that, the fact that they took Cam Newton, if they might take a shine to Anthony Richardson based on certain comparisons there. JJ, the Bears, we knew that they wanted to trade this pick, but are they done, or are they still open for business? Could there be more moves coming from the Bears?
I'll tell you this, Jeremy. There was a want-to in that building to manipulate the draft a little bit, maybe move from 1 just a spot or 2 or 3 down, right? I think that they would have been open for business with the Houston Texans. If the Texans wanted to go from 2-1 to make sure they got their guy, I think they would have been open for business at number 4 with the Indianapolis Colts. And then they could have done the old double trade, right? They could have moved from 1 to 2 and then from 2 to 9. I think that would have been possible. I think the Carolina Panthers would have been interested in that. And obviously the Panthers would have had to give up a little bit less in order to go up to 2 rather than to 1. But here, of course, the Panthers getting their pick of the litter by being number 1. So the Bears, again, getting a haul, getting DJ Moore, a wide receiver they were very interested in back at the trade deadline. We remember Carolina, we didn't know if they were going to have a fire sale or not. Well, DJ Moore signed a 3-year, $61 million contract extension last spring. The Carolina Panthers paid a very nice signing bonus to DJ Moore, and so they wanted not just a first-round pick, but a little bit more for DJ Moore, considering that they had just paid him that money. And the Bears, the Packers, who were also interested, weren't willing to go up to that. And so now the Bears go ahead and get their guy. They get a guy for Justin Fields, who obviously needs to improve as a passer because it's not sustainable how much he was rushing last season. They're going to have to protect Justin Fields along the offensive line. I think that's going to be a high priority for the Chicago Bears here next week as free agency begins. And so, no, I don't believe that the Bears are done making big moves, but I wouldn't anticipate the Bears going down any further in this draft order this year.
And when you look at the top 5 picks, I mean, now you have Carolina, Houston, Arizona, Indianapolis, and Seattle, who have that pick from Denver. But JJ, when you look at teams that are quarterback needy, I mean, could this be the start of a domino effect? Could we see some other moves with teams that are in search of a quarterback, maybe making moves a little bit higher in the draft?
Well, it's going to be hard to make any deal with the Houston Texans at this point because we believe that they want to go ahead and secure that franchise quarterback while they also keep a very close eye on Jimmy Garoppolo. The Cardinals are the next team that could move down. We know that they need picks. They need a lot of things over there. And so they could move down. You have the Colts there at 4, very clearly needing a quarterback. I talk about wandering in the wilderness. Certainly the Colts have in the post-Andrew Luck years. Seattle giving the deal to Geno Smith, a deal that he certainly earned. They could stand pat with him, but it really, when you break it down, is a bit of a 1-year deal and a we'll see from the Seattle Seahawks side. And so they could absolutely be in the market for a quarterback. So if you're talking about the next team or the next place where you might see a team move up to, I think the Cardinals right now are in really good position because of how quarterback needy the Indianapolis Colts are, because we understand that the Texans probably are not going to be trading out of that number 2 pick. And so I'd look at the Cardinals right now at number 3 as that potential. Whether the Colts want to slide up there to make sure they can get a guy or not is to be determined.
All right, well, DJ Moore, the wide receiver who's part of this draft going from Carolina to Chicago, has tweeted out the shocked emojis there as he's about to change teams, headed up to the Windy City from the Carolina Panthers. JJ, when you look at Moore and kind of what he brings to the Chicago team, how do you see this fit in this offense?
Well, they need somebody for Justin Fields to throw to. I mean, there's no question about it. This is a guy who rushed for over 1,100 yards last season, by far the most by any quarterback in the NFL last season. He was sacked 55 times last season, and so some of that had to do with his offensive line. Some of that had to do with him and his inability to kind of throw the ball sometimes. It was working with a new coaching staff, Luke Getsy and all that, and talking with Matt Eberflus and Ryan Poles. They all understand what they have to do right now with Justin Fields, and that is get him to improve as a passer. And so by getting him a top-flight wide receiver like DJ Moore, where they can work together this offseason, a full offseason together, is going to be crucial for Justin Fields' development and the future of the Chicago Bears.
All right, lead NFL insider Jonathan Jones joining us to discuss the Chicago Bears trading the number 1 overall pick to the Carolina Panthers. Thanks, JJ. And what a haul the Bears are getting. They're getting the 9th and 61st overall pick. So they're getting the first-round pick from Carolina, as well as a first-round pick in 2024, a second-round pick in 2025, and perhaps as good as a first-round pick, wide receiver DJ Moore from the Panthers. In exchange, the Panthers now own the number 1 pick in this year's NFL draft.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.